Well, hello everybody. Today we are going to be reviewing the status between 3ANC or the active noise cancellation. I'm sure if you are watching this video, I'm guessing you've seen their ads. They're pretty convincing ads and very notoriously repetitive ads while having a lot of variety of them. So the thing that they emphasize is their quality components, that they're made for audiophiles, and that they're one of the best sounding earbuds on the planet. Are they? Let's get to it. First things first, it comes with everything you see here. It comes with the earpieces of different sizes. It comes with the USB cable. And of course, the box is, the way it's packaged, as you unwrap it, you can tell that they put some thought into it. It's an experience to open, kind of like the old school Apple products. And you can tell that you got something premium and something special. And of course, the instruction, very simple. And this is high quality stuff, actually. All of the on paper specs, I'm going to leave in the description below. I'm not going to really go over all of those little things on here. Just the things that I think are important and the things that just my take on it. Here is the main star. The case, it feels to me like those Sony cases rather than the Apple cases. But if you use, Galaxy earbuds or Apple earbuds, you know how these things work. Almost every earbuds work this way now. The shape is a bit odd, but to me, they were very comfortable. I liked it. I actually liked it better than most. I hear they do interfere with, let's say, earrings, but I can't imagine them interfering any more than AirPods. I suppose they do float next to the ear a little more. It is extended out. So I don't know what kind of ear stuff you wear, but I can imagine it being in the way. 8 to 12 hours, depending on how you use them. It's charged up real quick. And let's talk about the components in here. So there's 10mm dynamic driver as well as 2 Armature drivers. Now, if you don't know anything about them, just know that Armature drivers are some legit sound technology found in some of the highest end earbuds. In fact, they're found in in-ear monitoring stuff that the studios use, the live performers use, and they are found in $2,000 headphones. And I've had, earbuds, and I've had maybe 3 of them or experience with 3 of them in the past, ranging from the $2,000 stuff all the way down to some of the friendlier Sony ones. And so that's legit. What happens is the Armature drivers, they work differently, but they're not very good at low end. It's very difficult to have them do the low end very well. So they use a dynamic driver, which is basically a speaker, like a tiny speaker, which is used in every earbuds, basically. All normal earbuds use one, really good or cheap speakers, and that's what you get. That's what earbuds are. They're tiny speakers in your ear. And what happens is that they put a pretty large one, 10mm, and that is going to take the sub frequencies, the bass frequencies, and they're using the Armature driver for all the other stuff. So thumbs up on the technology because they're legit. And of course, the reason I bought them is actually because I've been looking for Armature earbuds, and the wireless earbuds market doesn't have a very good Armature driver earbuds. So I was very excited to try these. I was happy to spend the $200, which is costly for what they are in a sense, but at the same time, depending on how you look at it, it's reasonable because most of the earbuds, even without the Armature drivers, are like $300, $400, Take Sony or the Denon or the Bose, clips. Take those guys, for example. They're $250, $300, $400. And these guys are $199 or $200. I suppose I got them on sale, so maybe $250 on a retail, but $199. You should get them for $200, no problem. If you compare them with AirPods, obviously these cost a lot more. But if you compare them with AirPods Pro, now you're talking. You know what I mean? Now it's within the range. Do they sound better than AirPods Pro? Hands down, yes. They sound a lot better than AirPods Pro, in my opinion. Now, of course, it doesn't come with all of the features that the AirPods Pro or the Galaxy stuff comes with, especially the AirPods Pro. It doesn't come with spatial audio, for example. I haven't yet to find a way to do HD audio on these things, so lossless doesn't exist so far. And I read it on at least one forum online that says they can't do them. And I have to agree with it. There's no documentation claiming that, but that I have found that's authoritative. But there's no way to turn it on. So there's no spatial audio. And it doesn't do that directional audio thing where if you're listening to a device on the iPad, it follows the iPad, so it sounds like it's coming from the iPad. It doesn't have any of that. It does have like an ambient transparency mode type thing, so noise canceling, great. Which brings us to noise canceling. These are okay, and that's the problem. They're not good. The noise canceling is not that great. It's just okay. It's what happens is I could still hear the AC in the background, very very low, but I could still hear it in the background. I could still hear other things, but it also sounds like those old school active noise cancellation tech because it also raises the noise floor. When you turn this on, you can hear noise, like static noise in the background. That's not as big of a deal. It's really annoying, but it's really annoying when you first turn it on and it's silent. But once you play music, it's barely noticeable. So that's what I mean by like everything comes down to it's okay. It's usable. It'll help you focus on the music. So I don't really see too big of a deal there, but they're not that great. If you are looking for active noise cancellation tech, and that's like a thing you look for in the earbuds, these are probably not for you. It does come with all of the I don't know. Oh, that's adhesive. Okay, I thought maybe they were scratched up. I'm like, these are fairly new. I don't know why that would happen, but yeah, I guess it's the adhesives. But yes, it does come with a whole touch control, physical control that are pretty basic. I like it. But going back to the sound quality, here is the caveat. Unfortunately, I am planning to return these. I've already initiated it online. They're going to send me a print label. So kudos to the company real quick on a side note that they live up to their word and they have a 30-day money back guarantee. So if you don't like them, you just send them back. No questions asked. Although they do ask, but you're not required to answer. Like, why are you returning them? Is there anything we can improve? They have those kind of type of questions. So the problem is this. Armature drivers are hard. They are very difficult to master, especially on the lower price range. So these guys suffer the same problem as other cheaper armature driver products. That includes Sony. At one point, Sony made something like this. They had armature drivers and dynamic drivers inside, which is very much the same idea. The dynamic driver being the subwoofer or the woofer type, and the armature driver being the tweeter and the mid-range. And even the lower price Sony hybrid earbuds, and Sony being a killer player in the earbud space, they had trouble making a decent sounding headphone or earbud. They had trouble making decent sounding earbuds with the armature and the hybrid drivers. I would like to say the sound is good, but not good enough for what they advertise. At least to me. You will find a bunch of 5-star reviews out there that love this sound, but because I have heard other earbuds that sound better, I have to kind of say no to this. Granted, the other armature drivers that I own are not wireless. They are wired. But it still gave me an idea of what they're capable of. So I know what it's lacking. Here, the problem seems to be amplification stage. Like, so armature drivers are really, really difficult. Like, you have to get them right from the amplification to the design. They have to be so precisely and finely tuned at each volume. The problem is the armature drivers, they kind of fight each other. That's the easiest way I could describe it. They kind of fight each other. They inherently have weird resonance and harmonic distortion issues. The problem here is that they're not resolved. When you put them on, the lack of soundstage on certain stereo sounds is incredibly dull. But on the other hand, when there's stereo data, they seem to exaggerate a lot, like in a good way, I guess. It sounds cool, like the sound stage, how the instruments sound like it's from here, this side, that kind of stuff. It sounds really good, but it seems to exaggerate the center a bit. Once it starts going to the center, even though there's a little bit of center data, it seems to crush it into the middle of your head, and in a way that's not full. It just dull. It's just flat. It's just to me it sounds terrible. So the weird thing about these headphones are it's like it's good and then it's bad. It's good and then it's bad. There's no like universal thing. For example, the sound on the low end, it's actually pretty thumpy. It's punchy. It's fairly robust, but it's not as tight as it could be, especially for a 10mm driver. The Armature drivers, the mid range, it's weird because it has this really harsh highs on instruments that have sibilants or vocals that have sibilants. It seems to, it's almost like, I don't know if you guys are audio guys, but it sounds like it's going through an exciter and it's just crisp and not in a good way. I'm talking like crisp, like kind of like ear piercing crisp. And they do come with an app, which is slightly odd because for me at least, I had to connect my earbuds to the phone. And then even though they're connected, when I open the app also has to connect to it. So I have to connect again. Which, well, it's one more step, but not a big deal. But the EQ is really weird. The EQ, like you wanna, for the range that they picked is a little odd. For example, if you wanted to, bump it, and usually 125 hertz is where bass heads like to, bump it. But there is no 125. It just goes from like 80 something to like 100, I think 73 or something like that. Some weird arbitrary sounding number. There must be a reason why they picked those numbers, but I have no idea why those numbers are there. And the EQ works really weird. When I lower one frequency on the lower end, it just harshes out the highs. And you might be saying, well, that's kind of normal. When you remove the low end, then the higher end becomes more prominent. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying it pushes the higher end, almost like there's some kind of weird multi-band processor, multi-band compressing is happening in a weird way. Like I lower this and it just pierces these. It just shoots them up. And then when I lower those, it shoots another thing. And I couldn't get the type of sound I was looking for. It's just difficult to do. And they have different modes, like, between like audiophile mode and default mode and pro mode and things like that. I tried all of them, pretty neat, but none of them sounded good. And as more and more instruments are placed through the armature, you can tell that they get more and more muddy, and they also kind of level out on the highs to get hot for some reason. So it sounds really, really harsh on the highs of different things that it's trying to play. That's what I found, at least. And then another weird thing is armature drivers in general is hard to push. It's really hard to push on the amplification side, and the status do get louder than other earbuds. I mean, they're much louder than the AirPods. They're much louder than the Sony. But as you get louder, I noticed that all the instruments and the soundstage, it starts to get muddy. It starts to sound tinny. It sounds awful, to be honest with you. It's weird because it's clarity, but because of the tinginess that's added to it, as well as some level of muddiness, it's like you can hear the floss clearer. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's somehow made all of the flaws more prominent. So even though it's clearer and the bass is hitting hard and bass, it doesn't seem to be interfering with the other frequencies, unlike other earphones. It's just, I don't understand what's happening. I was hoping that when I purchased these, judging by how they advertise, that they figured all of this out, that they found a magic formula for the components they had. But no, they have all of the inherent problems with the lower end, or not necessarily lower end, but lower tuned like a poorly tuned armature drivers. But on the low, on the bright side, if your volume is pretty low, it's pretty fantastically clear. But I don't like to listen to most of my music low, especially if their active noise cancellation is creating noise by itself. I have not tested the phone calls on these because I've already decided after much listening that I'm not gonna keep these. These are just not worth the $200 for that audio file quality. However, again, these still sound pretty good. I know that sounds weird, but they do sound good. They sound better than AirPods. They sound better than a lot of the other stuff out there. And depending on what you listen to, maybe like EDM music, right? EDM, or maybe like EDM style music. If you listen to that, these might actually sound really good because it makes all of the electro sounds that much more crisper. It hits hard, you know, like, so maybe depending on the type of stuff you listen to, it might actually be better. But I use the Apple EQ, and then I use their EQ. I still could not resolve the issues that I was having with the sound quality. So unfortunately, I am going to be returning these. What do any of you guys own this stuff? And feel the same way, or you think I might be a little harsh? I mean, the reason I'm harsh is because this is what they're marketing to, that they are really great quality, that they're true audiophile. But I'm here to tell you, if you're a real audiophile, you would be horrified by these. Mainly because they're so harsh. It just, at one point, it was piercing through my ears, and I was just like, ugh. And there was no EQ I could do that would just make that pleasant. Again, once I used the Apple and then the app EQ, I got to a place where it was acceptable. But I'm like, if I'm doing that much work to make this even remotely acceptable to me and my and of course my hearing style, then ugh. Why am I even keeping these? You know, because I hate using the Apple EQ because Apple EQ, it's everywhere, right? It's all devices. It's from my phone. So if I put it on my CarPlay, now it's the Apple EQ. If I put it on other headphones or anything like that, it's all EQ'd out on all devices that I put it on, not just these guys. So I don't want to use the Apple EQ. I want to use the app EQ if I have to. I personally, I didn't have to do that with most of the other. I barely EQ other earbuds, but this one I went to the extreme and subtle. I did the subtractive style, which is basically you never add, you only subtract frequencies. None of that helps in a meaningful way. And to be honest, in any way that makes sense, like I said before, like I just don't understand what kind of stuff is happening with the EQ. When I lower one, it just doesn't lower that. It just changes the entire sound signature. And the stereo imaging, like I said, is pretty terrible, to be honest with you. The stereo imaging on the semi-mono parts, and I have to say semi-mono, because a lot of times the vocals are center, but they still have a stereo signature. Most of them do anyways. So because of that, if you listen to them on other earbuds, you can still kind of hear the sound space, the sound stage of where the vocals are coming from, and it's kind of pleasant. They don't sound like they're just in the middle of your head. These, I don't know how they do it. I've never ever had earbuds quite like it. It just is in the middle of my head. It's like literally little speakers in my ear, and that's what they sound like. And you're like, that's what they are, but that's not what they should sound like. All right. And then, of course, the exaggerated stuff are super exaggerated. So it makes the center stuff even deader. You know, like, that is my take on this. I'm sure a lot of people will be satisfied with this. I might even recommend it if people are going, like, I want something better than, you know, AirPod sounding, but I don't want to spend like $300, $400, $500. Then I might actually recommend these, you know. Okay. Looks like I flipped them at one point. All right. So there you have it.